And we are live. Welcome, everybody. This is Jason, John Marco, and myself to the weekly Storm Gain podcast. I'm Pierce. Yes, we've got to actually shoot. I need to go around the corner to get mine. This is the adult themed podcast where we all have nice adult beverages for everybody. But you, the nice viewers, you go ahead and get yourselves one if you want. Who knows? But anyway, how you guys all been?
Impressed. It's like being back in Iowa. Mm-hmm. So Max and I came here to Tulsa for the Trump protest, and we stayed to fight healthcare or fight for healthcare. Sorry, we're not against healthcare. Just want to point that out. But we stayed, fight for healthcare. Prop 82 here in Oklahoma. It's going to be big on the card and on the 30th, trying to get more healthcare to more people. Can we please go to the squares?
Actually, I don't think we can. Panel. I mean, I could make one of them big, but I can't do squares for 3 people. We need to get a 4th people in here to do squares.
Oh man! But anyone who's watching live right now wants to join, you're more than welcome.
Tell me about the proposition that you and Max are fighting for.
Let me find my center in here because I can't be to one side because I'm not square. I've got to be dead center. But essentially, it's expanding Medicaid throughout the state of Oklahoma, so people who are underinsured can get insured more easily, cheaply, if not out and out free, just by repurposing some oil money that comes in that usually goes to remodel the governor's mansion here. Fun fact that I learned about the Oklahoma governor: he did not once vote in any election for the past 20 years until he voted for himself to be elected, and he hasn't voted since he elected himself.
That's
Oklahoma, guys.
Your voter participation is public. Nobody knows who you voted for. I mean, we're assuming that he voted for himself. Nobody knows who.
Yeah, I would assume he voted for himself because he's sitting in the governor's mansion right now, requesting $4 million a year to fucking redo it.
So it sounds to me like he's someone that's up for being removed, is what I'm hearing. Just from
yeah. Anyone want to run in Oklahoma against this guy? He's kind of an asshole. It's his last name Schlitz too, so I mean that's a shitty beer. So it's probably a shitty person.
Speaking of beer, let me go around that corner. I'll pick mine up. I'll be right back.
So John Marco, what's up? You got another haircut or you shaved?
I shaved. I think on Saturday. And that was about 3 or 4 weeks. I think it was 4 weeks of not shaving.
Damn.
But I've been chilling. I'm heading back to California this weekend, so I've been packing, getting my stuff together. I got an Airbnb as soon as I get there for isolation until I got tested on Monday, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
For
you're excited to have that cotton swab go all the way up to your brain.
Dude, compared to with the peace of mind of getting a negative test results, do whatever you need to do, man.
That's probably a lot more comfortable than an STD test, to be truthful.
What happened?
I said it's probably a lot more comfortable than an STD test, to be truthful.
But in the grand scheme of things, man, I'll do that thing every week if I can. If it means peace of mind. That's a small thing. And it's less than a minute long.
Oh, yeah.
And it might be the most satisfying, quick feeling of all time for all we know.
Yeah. Okay. I would disagree, but okay.
Have you had it done before?
Mm-hmm. Coronavirus negative.
That's on everyone's bio these days. Tested negative.
For Corona.
Yeah. I'm actually going to get a mixer for mine. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You'd actually think, though, that it would be oh, yes, I had it to prove that you're safe. Because if you haven't had it, then you can still get it.
True.
Right?
Okay. All right, Mr.
So your test from a month ago saying, oh, I didn't.
Be built up to it. So.
Sorry, say again?
There's no proof that you can actually be immune to it, though.
Yes, there is.
You can get it again.
Yes, you can catch any disease again. However, most diseases confer a immune response. Antibodies are produced just as there are in this case. And in fact, most of the coronavirus tests are testing to see if you have those antibodies rather than actually testing for the disease itself, depending on which test you're taking.
I have no antibodies, I guess. I'm going to die.
I mean, most of us don't, which is why it's become a global pandemic.
If you can't tell, though, I kind of started early because, the office in Oklahoma, and it's stocked to the brim with beer because we're used to disappointment here. Being
Well,
a red state.
I hope the fine people of Oklahoma don't hear you say that.
No, because we're used to losing as like depressed. Democrats are used to losing here.
I know you're a comedian, man. I'm trying to like throw you some rope to dig yourself out of the hole that you're digging for yourself.
We got these in the mail today.
Trump es hijo de puta. All right.
Trump is the son of a bitch, right?
Yes, that is exactly what the translation says.
Okay.
Hijo de puta. Yeah, he's
Yeah, I'm already like 7 beers in. This fridge is stocked full of them. So
good stuff. Good stuff. So what are those like buttons behind you anyway, dude?
Oh, they're like campaign buttons for different people. There's an Amy Klobuchar that we have for sale for some reason. Make racists afraid again. Black Lives Matter. We got this 2020. Living in Tulsa on time. Latina ex-Democrats. Wedding rings for some reason. Oh, they're gay pride wedding rings. Now I get it. That's way awesomer than I thought it was. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of stuff like, there's one with Jesus that says, I'm not upset, I'm just disappointed. Jesus doesn't write legislation. I never said that. Quit putting words in my mouth. Jesus says a lot of shit, apparently. Bitch Mitch, proud Democrat.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
All right. Did you check the Kentucky results?
Oh, is Amy McGrath still winning? I only checked this morning when like 51% were like reporting.
Yeah, so I don't think, last I checked, I don't think it's been like conclusively determined because there's so many absentee ballots. But yeah, Amy McGrath is currently in the lead.
I was thinking about that race.
Also.
What was that, John Marco?
I was just thinking about the Kentucky race.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your opinion on the Kentucky race? And why
I was curious how
so small?
How the results were going in.
I don't actually know. I haven't looked.
I mean, Charles Booker, he's received a huge surge in popularity over the last couple months, especially during this whole Black Lives Matter movement.
He's also better qualified than Amy McGrath too, so in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely think he'd be a better senator than Amy McGrath. That's not without any doubt. I don't honestly think that he would beat Mitch McConnell. And actually, probably one of the most sobering things that I can provide for that race is more Republicans voted in that primary where Mitch McConnell was effectively unopposed than Democrats voted in the primary.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, so it's probably not exactly a good sign. That means, quite frankly, that most of the Democrats are not galvanized, they're not excited. So it's probably a really bad sign for Amy McGrath to actually win the general election in November.
Yeah, it's a long road. What, 4 months now? Yeah, I have work to do.
Yeah.
It's those just like, I was speaking with one of the Humanity First endorsed candidates. It's this gentleman running for Senate in Louisiana. I believe I forgot. Why am I blanking on? I feel so horrible now. But anyways,
you spoke with the dude.
I've had a long day. But regardless, like I was asking him, I was looking at the data from the previous election when the current senator he's fighting against was going up, and the Republicans won by like 12 points. I was asking, what do you think is your strategy, your coalition you should be building for this? And he said, in general, it's not a problem it's not that Louisiana is a red state, it's a low voter turnout state. And there might be a similar issue going into Kentucky, perhaps. But it's just a matter, because when he told me the amount of registered Democrats versus Republicans, it was like some obscene margin that if even like a huge amount of Democrats didn't vote, they would still win.
Right.
But
maybe
like in terms of November, I think the number I'm getting for voter turnout as opposed to 2016 is I think it's going to be up 5 points right now.
You think so?
I think we'll see like at least around a 5 point increase in voter turnout. I feel.
Is voter turnout usually higher or lower, like during a president's re-election term? I actually don't know.
I mean, it's historically low. Like I think it's like around 60% usually. I think it was like 55 or maybe even 50 for 2016 or something. Unfortunately, I think the sad fact that I remembered was that it was lower in 2016 than it was for 2012. Let me see here. Voter turnout in 2016 was, it was up 0.8 points. It was 55.7, and then it was 54.9 in 2012.
Well, that's the percentage. I'm talking about the numerical number of people that actually cast.
I mean, I think considering it's like a certain, any 18 plus demographic that's eligible to vote, I think it's gonna, well, we have a lot of people voting for the first time in general. And I think those that have turned of voting age between last time and now are really invested in voting, particularly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say, so if the 2016 was 55.7%, I would say close to 60% in November.
Yeah, I know in 2018, millennials outnumbered baby boomers in voter participation.
And the Republicans still won? Yeah.
Which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that voting block is slowly ever growing.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the voter participation here, 2000, 2004. 2004 had like, okay, so about 101 million people voted for president in 2000. That was George Bush versus Al Gore. And 2004, you had about 121 million people vote. So that's a substantial increase. Then in 2008, you had about 60 plus 130 million people roughly vote. So it kind of actually just seems like it increases as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that stands to reason then that 2020 will have higher voter turnout than 2016.
We'll see, man. Don't let us down, the entirety of the American population.
Yeah.
Maybe the Rona only kills Republicans.
Well, have you all seen that Harvey Weinstein, I think his name was, put out a talk on Joe Rogan to try and get Andrew Yang to run as an independent?
It would definitely not be Weinstein. That man is serving like life in jail for being a.
Yeah, you got to pick the right Weinstein.
Who rapes people.
I'm getting the name wrong then. Yeah. Eric Weinstein, was it? Eric, maybe?
It was Brett, his brother.
Okay.
Both the Weinsteins are super smart people, but it was Brett Weinstein.
Guy on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Brett Weinstein.
Yeah, it was definitely not Harvey. Whoever wants the professor. Who's a professor of theology?
Eric Weinstein, I think.
No, it was Brett Weinstein. Eric Weinstein was the one that interviewed him for his Portal podcast.
All right. I'm just going to assume that you're better informed than me while I'm double checking you. Since clearly I can't even remember the guy's name. But anyway, yeah, so it sounds like you saw it, though. That was my question, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I don't think this is
independent along with McRaven.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's a chance.
Kind of new though. Like I don't remember hearing his name at all in anything.
Whose name?
Like right now.
Whose name?
McRaven, the guy that.
Oh yeah, he's
pushing his MVP.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not a politician.
Yeah,
I've never heard of him. That's what I'm saying. Who knows who he is?
Oh, I read his book, the Make Your Bed and Other Ways to Change Little Things You Can Change the World. It's a really good book.
Right. He's given a speech that went viral, making your bed every morning.
Okay.
Actually,
it was.
I haven't even seen a bed in like 2 days, so congrats.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, it's the commencement speech at the University of Texas, where he actually served as chancellor after he retired from the Navy. But yeah, phenomenal speech. That was a great book. A little book recommendation segue. That book, An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Commander Chris Hadfield. One of my favorite books of all time. In terms of fiction, I'm trying to read the Foundation series, which has been on my shelf for a while.
Nice.
But, but I don't know if you guys have heard about it. But it won this.
It's famous.
Yes. Well, I haven't heard about it until a few years ago.
All right.
But I'm like really trying to commit to just like reading that because I don't remember the last time I got lost in like the story of a book.
Just don't tell me that you're going to try to read Infinite Jest.
I mean, if you dare me, I don't know what that is.
It's the worst book on the history of the planet. Like if you read that, if you say that you've read it and you enjoyed it and you thought it gave you like a different outlook on the world that we live in, you've never really read it. If you've actually read it, you hate it and you've contemplated suicide after reading it.
Okay. So
and you couldn't believe you wasted that much of your life reading it. So
Oh my god, that is pretty good actually.
the drink or the book?
I think
no, the drink. Like, I thought it was gonna be really strong, but this is like a pineapple-based 99 proof with some orange juice.
I don't even know what I'm drinking now. I went from PBR to something called Unfiltered Wheat Beer, made by Boulevard Brewing Company. So
that seems like some early production straight to Costco stuff.
What was that?
That seems like some early production, unbranded, straight to Costco kind of thing.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. It has a kick of citrus apparently. So I'm about to try to find out how good it is. I'm just trying to forget today even happened, to be honest.
Aw.
Yeah.
I mean, it was better than yesterday.
Not really.
Mm.
It sucks when you have to fire volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was catching up with some friends yesterday, and one of my friends, we had a very interesting conversation, just talking about like the economy and how things should work, etc. And he began by prefacing with a backstory of like how Japan in the 90s, etc., was doing tremendously well economically.
Yeah.
But their entire economy was being held up by what he calls zombie companies, like these companies that are just propping up, and you're just basically not letting them fail. Like foreshadowing a lot of the stuff that the country went through like a decade ago. And what his entire premise of his argument was that in the end, like the shareholder should be the one taking the risk, and in some ways, all the companies should fail because they're the ones taking the risk. Like by doing it the way we've been doing, you're incentivizing companies to just keep on doing what they're doing because they know they're going to have like someone to save them at the end. When the whole point of the type of economy and capitalism you're running, like all depends on just risk, trying to get a return on your investment. Fundamentally speaking, and I think he phrased it in a very effective manner. Like I understood and I agreed with those concepts before, but when you hear someone phrase things in a certain way that just makes it all click a lot better, you're like, oh, that was great. He should actually, I don't know, he should be a guest on this podcast. Like you guys would love him, but I have to see if his work allows him to.
Yeah, I'm happy. Let's do it. Because I agree, that's 100% a thing that, quite frankly, people should talk about more. Capitalism gets a lot of unnecessary blame for things that aren't capitalism's fault because it's not even capitalism.
You're just labeling it as capitalism when its reality is just like the self-perpetuating cycle that just destroys the lives of people.
Yeah.
That can destroy the lives of people, I should say, depending on how you direct these things. Sure, I do believe there's a lot of great aspects of capitalism, particularly competition, that I think is fundamentally important to making progress in every possible field. But like, you shouldn't, as we all know, make GDP your end-all be-all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% in agreement there. And it's absolutely sickening, honestly, that people would take those intentionally bad risks or something that is like has an expiration point. It's only a matter of time before it fails. Just knowing that it's not actually you going to be holding the bag. It is sickening, quite honestly. Right. That was like, one of the main.
Yeah, the enablers are the ones that are getting away with it in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the enablers are the ones with the money to be able to get away with it because they've been, screwing everything for so long.
Mm-hmm. And like my friend also went on to like the grander scheme of things, like, are we willing to go through a lot of pain in the short term for a better society and economy on the other side that kind of works for everyone? And like, well, yeah, I think that's a longer, deeper discussion. Like, sure, I totally agreed with the shareholder should bear the risk that they are literally putting their money on the line for. But I think it's a bit too preemptive to talk about those things right now. We have a lot more things to figure out.
Well, actually, I'll use exactly that example of shareholders assume risk. So GM, for example, GM was bailed out by the government. Now you can think that that was a good idea or that was a bad idea, but GM was actually delisted. The people that had GM shares, even though GM was bailed out, the people that had GM shares were left holding the bag. They were screwed. GM was effectively bought. I'm shortcutting legal terminology, but GM was effectively bought by the government, and then resold back to the public and relisted. And GM shares, as they're trading right now, are not the same shares that were trading from before the 2008 crash. So those shareholders did actually assume the risk and be caught holding the bag, even though GM did receive the bailout.
Interesting.
So I mean, that's just one example. I'm not saying that all the bailouts were the same, you know. So the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac bailouts, for example, were not done the same way.
Mm-hmm. I actually just saw Too Big to Fail a couple of months ago during quarantine, and that's like Too Big to Fail. It came out.
No, not Too Big to Fail. Movie. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about something in real life that you just saw happen.
No. I think that movie is like part of what I call the trilogy of like understanding the financial crisis. Too Big to Fail,
The Big Short.
Yeah, and Margin Call.
How well Bell did in that movie.
Pardon?
How well Christian Bell and Steve Carell did in that movie, The Big Short.
Oh man, yeah, The Big Short is just phenomenal. Like, I recommend everyone should watch those three movies. Big Short first, then probably then Too Big to Fail, and then Margin Call to understand the fundamentals first. And also Vice. Like, I think that was extremely well done.
Yeah.
It is the same director from The Big Short.
Like with Vice, it's like really hard to be able to humanize like someone like George Bush and like make him a person because they only want to see like the bad side. But like when you see how Cheney purposely manipulated him and stuff, it just kind of makes it a little bit easier to like, you know, swallow that entire thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of things I learned about the administration in retrospect, but at the end of the day, I do feel that, you know, George Bush is a true patriot and cares about his country.
He cares about people, and that's like, you know, that like the see like I think I've said this before on here, but like the see like the way he interacted with the victims after Hurricane Katrina and everything down in New Orleans, like he was on the ground for all those days, and he was hugging people and sobbing with them and crying. Like he's still the first president I think that's like ever cried in public or like shown like that much raw emotion in public. It was like really something that kind of threw you off when you were watching it because he came off as, you know, someone completely different otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
I remember after 9/11, he gave a speech. And I mean, that was a really, really emotional time for everybody. But I was really, really moved by that speech at that time. You know, you really felt the unity, quite frankly. That was one of my things I was really, a silver lining that I was really glad about. After 9/11, you really, really felt unity with your neighbors, with your countrymen.
And like, no, it's unfortunate that such a tragic event is what took for us to feel that way about one another.
Yeah.
And that's just what sucks in general. Like, you know, my gripe right now is that I understand a lot of people hate Trump. Right? I clearly understand that they do, for whatever reasons they may have. And it's incredibly frustrating to me that Trump seems to treat people that don't support him as a different kind of people, when at the end of the day is you are their president as much as you are the president of those who voted for you. Like, you know, and of course Andrew did an amazing job portraying what a president should do. It's like, listen, I understand. He understood the bullshit of political labels. Like, you know, the whole not left, right, forward. Like, listen, we're all in this together. Like, we are doing, and the most ironic thing is that to me, a lot of people on the left are building like metaphorical walls to their fellow Americans on the right, which I find just downright unfortunate sometimes, because they're, I mean, from my experience, they're the ones that are more forcibly like not willing to listen to them. And we've all talked to a lot of Republican voters, especially out in Iowa. And for me, from my perspective, plenty and plenty of decent human beings. And it just reinforced my understanding that, you know, the people that are horrible on either side is a shrinking, although very vocal minority in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. And I've noticed, like on the coast and everything, like you and I, John Marco, were both from the West Coast. Pierce is like mainly East Coast. From my experience, it seems like the ones that are the most vocal and the worst are are in the coastal states. Like a California Republican, you just want to choke to death. I mean, I've met a New York Republican too that I just wanted to choke to death. But like Iowa Republicans, they're humans, you know? And I don't know if it's something about them becoming more calloused and everything as far as like being on the coast where they're in the vast minority and they're constantly criticized and stuff and they just automatically lash out maybe. But it's just like the people in the middle, the people that we refer to as the flyover state, the people that we forget are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
weird.
Yeah, the Midwest is famous for its good hospitality. Quite frankly, any more rural area is just going to be that way. You know, New York City, for example, is famous for not being as hospitable, right? And it's just on the other side of the spectrum of really urbanness versus ruralness, or not even really rural, but like it's just when your city is the center of the financial world versus when your nearby city is actually just where you happen to have the tractor store, you know, like it's two different cultural worlds for sure, because individually speaking, in the second, you as an individual are more important. You have a greater proportional representation, influence, and belonging in that local system. You know, when you're one of 10,000 versus one of 100,000 versus one of 10 million, right? They're all mathematically they're different numbers, right? You can turn them into fractions, right? So they're gonna produce different cultures for sure.
Yeah, you are less of just a number.
Right.
That makes sense.
Anyway, I would caution Jason that your experiences are likely just your anecdotal, your own personal experiences. I would like to caution you against lumping such large groups all together that way, though. California, for example. So John Marco's from Southern California. I'm from Northern California. California itself is a very diverse state.
True.
And
it's usually more diverse blue.
Sorry?
I guess it's just usually more diversely blue than anything else.
Well, so that's the thing. Like the government in California is completely dominated by the blue side of things, for sure. But by the actual voting numbers, if I remember correctly, about 35% of California is Republican. And I mean, that was just by like voter participation. I don't know by the registered numbers or whatever. Like when you're talking about California, which is how many tens of millions of people, like that's a lot of people.
Let's not forget that California is like the 5th largest economy in the entire world.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a larger economy than France.
As much as like people like to call states like a safe blue or a safe red, like just because it's safe doesn't mean that there's absolutely no one from the other side voting for the person. Like Hillary beat Trump by 2-1 in California. Sure, that's by several margins considered a safe blue state when you get like 2/3 of the population voting for your party. That still means that 1 out of every 3 people that you randomly meet in California is from another party, and they shouldn't be disregarded in any regard. Like these are people, and these are the kind of people in particularly that I guess in a lot of ways fascinate me a lot, because they clearly understand that their party is not going to win in that state just by looking at the raw numbers. Yet they still vote for whatever reason they may have, by party principle, because they like the candidate. Like in my opinion, those votes are extremely powerful because they know that they're voting for something that they either believe in or are afraid of the other choice so much that they have to stand their ground and make their voices heard.
Yeah, my experience as a whole with California Republicans has been exceptionally positive, because they've learned how to navigate the political environment that is not their own, for sure. But as John Marco was saying, they're still sticking to their beliefs, which are usually, in my experience, very well reasoned. Most California Republicans I meet and discuss politics with are far more educated and far more informed on the issues than just the average non-Republican tending to be Democrat voter out in California. And I mean by a large margin as well.
Yeah.
Again, that's just my own experiences.
Yeah, like my experiences have been like I said, I just always assumed that they were more calloused because of the, constantly like being surrounded by people who believe differently than them.
I mean,
they tend to be
those people that want to lash out, those very vocal people that want to lash out. For sure, yeah, they exist.
Yeah.
You'll find them in California, you'll find them in Texas, right? You'll find them wherever. Whether they are the minority and are being oppressed, or whether they're just feeling like they're the minority and being oppressed, you'll definitely find the people that want to lash out. And that goes for whichever side. People are lashing out everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, the other unfortunate thing is just partisan politics has driven so many people to just be so dedicated to their side. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure you guys experience this too in Iowa and just making phone calls in general. Like, you tell them you're supporting a particular Democratic candidate, and they immediately just do not want to talk to you whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that's another battle we have to just take on as best we can, because like I can easily see myself voting for a Republican president if I felt that this person I think it's competent. Like a lot of the same things Brett Weinstein said on the Joe Rogan thing. Like it's competent, like wants to get things done, and has great ideas, and listens to people. Like that was like the genius thing about his proposal for a balanced moderate left, moderate right ticket, and they switched, because if you just agree with your running mate to do things together, you're going to have a balance of both sides of the aisles just talking about it, instead of just shutting them off and like leave them in their Senate or House room, and we'll talk among ourselves about how we're going to do things and just not take any of their input whatsoever.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Absolutely right.
And there was a time in early American history where the vice president was the second place winner in the election.
Yeah, for the first three presidencies, I think.
I was about to say, yeah, I think that changed.
George Washington had James Adams. James Adams had Thomas Jefferson, and I think it ended with Jefferson. So, if I'm not mistaken, right?
But it's not a new idea. It actually is how our country was started.
Mm-hmm.
When did they pick? I wonder what made them initially start picking different people of the same party to be the VP.
I don't know. I'm sure the law had to change on a federal level for the parties to be able to establish their own ways of working.
I think, I don't know. This isn't even I think. This is like I guess. I guess that it was actually just custom to have them be. It was like, oh well, the American people wanted you as the second choice, so you're going to be the second highest office. Yeah, but this is really just a guess. Like, it's,
yeah. I'm trying to like.
We're new to this whole country thing.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure for whatever reason Thomas Jefferson decided to put a kibosh on it. So.
Yeah, so Thomas Jefferson and John Adams didn't exactly get along.
Very true. They both died on the same 4th of July, ironically, within a few hours of each other. And I think it was John Adams' last words were, "Jefferson lives," because he was angry that he wasn't dying at the same time, or didn't die before he did by like an hour or so. I remember that being like a pretty like interesting like tidbit of history class.
This will do to you.
2 heavyweight U.S. presidents died on July 4th, 1826. John Adams, the second president, and Thomas Jefferson III died within hours of each other goes, as the story goes. And the last words uttered by John Adams were, "Thomas Jefferson survives."
See, I remember something from history class.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Karif, Wally Karif, Belmont University. You the man. You told me something that I actually remembered a fucking decade later, if not more than a decade later.
I'm still fascinated that like we can look things up in real time. I'm still fascinated by the fact that humanity has achieved this level of information dominance.
I always remember that meme that says like, "Yeah, I went back 20 years ago and I told them in my pocket, I have the entirety of human knowledge at my disposal within seconds. What do you do with it?
Pocket was a Tamagotchi.
Yeah, and they're like, what do you do with it? I used to look at cat photos all day.
Yep.
And that's why I got to donate to Wikipedia, man. Yeah, I started listening to a podcast recently called Left, Right, and Center. It's on KCRW. And I guess you guys can imagine why I was so drawn to it. Like they have one of the usual guests is this gentleman that's the former chair of the RNC on the right. And it's just a balanced down the middle conversation with different political views. And a previous episode was talking about the demonstrations happening across the country and how they feel like this will affect change, is it a turning point, etc. It was when that news was fresh, basically. And an interesting point one of them brought up during the conversation was, because there's this whole conversation about the power that police unions have in their local municipalities, etc. And it was observed that it kind of puts the Democrats in a weird position, considering they're a very pro-union party. And I was like, damn, yeah, I know how you walk that line, because sure, the police reform, I don't understand clearly right now how much of a bipartisan thing it is or not, but I do understand it's something that a lot of people on the left are pushing for. But at the same time, they're basically running against one of their own platform ideals, I would say they're called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at the same time, they kind of do it with the teachers union too, because they wanted to raise the level of standardized testing and everything as well, and make it more competitive for teachers' pay. So they kind of went against the union there as well. So
like, what do you mean? As in, like, they were basing their teachers' pay off the standardized test
results?
results?
Wanted to. Like, I think it was who was it? It wasn't Barack. Was it Barack or was it? It could have been Hillary. Part of their thing was part of their education plan on the second. It was either Barack's second run or Hillary in 2016. Part of their thing, teacher, is they wanted to make it more competitive. So they wanted to base like teachers' pay as far as that goes on like test scores and all this other stuff and teacher tenure and stuff like that.
See, so, that's one of my disagreements.
Increase the level of education, supposedly.
What was that?
Yeah.
Oh, I said that way it would increase the level of education your children were receiving, supposedly. So
yeah.
Yet they still had the teachers union endorsement with that, despite the fact it was a very anti-union thing, because the teachers union had to fight for teacher tenure and all this other stuff. So
yeah, and that's actually, I would say, one of the things I would push back against when it comes to like the competitive aspect of capitalism. If I want to stretch a little bit, because I understand, sure, you want to increase the quality of education, but education being such an important thing in life in general, I don't think should be something you should be competing over. It should be something whereas, like, if one teacher in one school district finds a fantastic method of teaching and it works and it's been proven to work, that should be shared amongst all of them to overall raise the bar for everyone else.
Yeah, I also think that standardized testing is a joke in a way, because it's like, it's biased. It has to be biased, because someone like me can like do nearly perfect on every standardized test put in front of him, but can't fucking, pass a basic chemistry class for shit. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I have my gripes with standardized testing as well. There was a time when I was younger, I was just like, I don't like standardized testing at all, because I feel like, one, it doesn't paint a solid picture of who the person is, but at the same time, there's also the whole industry of standardized testing schools. Where, okay, give us money and we'll help you improve the test, where like more disadvantaged people don't have that benefit and luxury to be able to afford those things. That puts them at a disadvantage.
Plus, there's a pattern to every single standardized test you take, and if you are good at recognizing patterns, you'll find it and just do well. You'll do it subconsciously without even knowing it, So, because nothing in life is random, no matter how hard you try.
Mm-hmm. You always want to make, if there's a system, someone will always try to break it.
Yeah.
Or figure it out.
Right.
And then like that guy in The Price is Right, I believe it was, he just killed it after like watching hundreds of episodes. He figured out a pattern to something.
Oh, it wasn't The Price is Right. What was it? No Whammy or something.
Yeah, I think you're right. It wasn't The Price is Right, but it was this It was a show that there was a random pattern going on some point on the game show, and he figured out a pattern to it.
I think it was the one with the whammy. Like they sit there and they're like, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy. He figured out the pattern on where it would hit, like when to, like the timing for the pattern, or where it would always hit the big prize.
Yeah.
He like got the show for like close to 10 mil or something back in like the 80s, I think it was. Which was,
put that shit in the bank and live off interest, man. Jesus.
the numbers could be completely and utterly wrong, by the way, but I think it was the 80s, and I want to say it was like 10 mil.
Nice.
It could very well have been the 80s and been like 1 mil, or the 70s and been 1 mil. Who knows?
The 80s would have been a great time to living nice with $10 million. Jesus.
Oh, the 80s would have been a great time for high quality cocaine.
That too.
I mean, my mother found that out. That's why she left me.
I remember watching Narcos for the first time, and I don't know if you guys have seen the show before on Netflix. But they had the opening, like, first few episodes establishing everything and how one of the police characters is this cop from Miami, like, dealing with the drug problem. And I'm like, damn, like, this city was a huge fucking mess right before I was born. It was very problematic. I can imagine why my parents didn't want to, like, raise me knowing about it and talking about it, because they wanted to shield me from the world, I guess. But, yeah, like, Miami had a lot of problems in its own regard.
One problem it didn't have, Don Johnson looking fly in that like white velveteen suit with like his sleeves rolled up. That was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Who here has watched Miami Vice other than me? Because I just got like two perplexed looks. That, okay.
Nope.
I didn't really give my pretend I know what you're talking about agreement look the best of effort there, admittedly.
Damn, I'm the only one that watches Miami Vice. It was like every episode was like I think it like opened up the genre for like every 1 hour episode being like a mini movie almost. Because I remember there being scenes where Don Johnson's just like driving his freaking like white Ferrari for like 5 minutes while an entire song plays, and it was just like badass. And it's just like stuff that you only saw in the movies then, and it made its way to the TV. I think it like, you know. But yeah, okay, that's my other job just like coming out. Never mind. I'll shut up now.
Nice.
I saw Knight Rider. Does that count? Yeah, no. Maybe.
David Hasselhoff is a god. I just wish he would have never done that calendar spread nude with like the poor little pug puppies.
Knight Rider.
That's not something that I'm gonna fact check you on.
Just by looking at the car in Knight Rider, I can say this is fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, not the new episodes. Go back to the original episode.
So the car talks as well. All right.
Oh, better.
Yeah.
Wait. So is one of those? What are these lights that pop up and down? What are the name of those lights?
I have no fucking clue. They're just
It's one of those lights on that car, right?
yeah, I think so.
So is that the eyes of the car, or is that the mouth of the car? I'm guessing it's the eye.
The mouth of the car was hidden in the grill, and it had like red LED lights. So every time he would talk, the red LED lights would flash up and down like he was talking.
Hell yeah!
Like it was like a volumetric thing, like on a stereo. So it was pretty tight. And the voice for Kit on Knight Rider was Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World.
What? No way. No way. Hold on. I have to check.
Because I watched Knight Rider before I ever even knew what Boy Meets World was, and so I'm like watching Boy Meets World on DVD because I got it. Like,
holy shit! You're right, William Daniels.
Yes, and William Daniels even came back to revive his role as Kit in the 2000s version of Knight Rider as well.
That's phenomenal.
Which is why he never made an appearance on Girl Meets World, because he was contractually obligated to CBS, who wouldn't share him with Disney.
Aww. Oh, he was a president of the Screen Actors Guild for 2 years. That's dope.
Yeah.
Nice. And he's still alive. Thank goodness. All right. That was my main question. That was my main concern. Like, did he leave us at some point? No.
Boy Meets World killed him off in Girl Meets World, sadly. But, you know.
He really laid down the life lessons on Boy Meets World, man.
Yeah, him and Eric. Like Will Friedle and William Daniels were like two of like the most comedic geniuses ever. Fun fact: Ron Stoppable from Kim Possible is Will Friedle, who was Eric from Boy Meets World. And he also did the voice of Batman, of Terry whatever in Batman Beyond.
Oh my gosh. No, sorry, I just got sidetracked here because William Daniels' like TV filmography is huge. I had no idea.
He's been around a couple blocks.
Yeah, man. Get it.
I could be crazy. I think he might have been in a Batman movie of some sort as well.
Yeah, he was. Jason was just saying.
I don't think he was in Batman.
Yeah, speaking of Batman, I read somewhere that
Keaton coming back as Bruce Wayne in the DC
Yeah.
series? Yes, it is true. He is either going to be the mentor to Batgirl, or he is going to be the mentor to the new Batman, and they're going to launch Batman Beyond in the cinematic universe for the first time. And I don't know if anyone who watches this podcast has ever seen Batman Beyond, the cartoon. But
I like Batman Beyond.
fucking beautiful.
Yeah. Batman Beyond was my jam, man. Saturday morning cartoons.
On
My Saturday morning cartoon. Actually, my weekday morning cartoon.
UPN.
What was that, Jason?
It wasn't called the CW back then. It was called the UPN. Is who carried Batman Beyond. So before the CW, before the CW, like lost its like balls and became CW and did Riverdale, it was once the Warner Brothers network, which before that was UPN, which carried a lot of amazing shows like the Jamie Foxx show, Martin Lawrence's show, the Wayans Brothers show, like the good ones, before they like got all lame and like went with David Wayans and went to ABC. But yeah, it was like predominantly a black movie. Pretty fucking cool. It gave a lot of black actors it launched a lot of careers.
Nice.
Because they offered a show to make, and so.
Not specifically my Saturday morning cartoon routine, but I remember my weekday morning before school cartoon routine was definitely Zoids. Like that was my jam.
I do not remember Zoids.
You don't remember Tigers, dude? Hold up.
What's up?
I'm about to share screen some shit.
But my Saturday morning cartoon was definitely Yu-Gi-Oh! That was my shit and a half, dude.
I was too old for Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, my dad never really let me watch a lot of cartoons, so I ended up like absorbing all the things that I could possibly remember all the other kids talking about when I was a kid, as a teenager and as a young adult.
Yeah.
Power Ranger.
I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, that's like a Dragon Zord for the Power Rangers.
But
So like a Power Ranger spinoff, or
look up Lightyear Zero Schneider. I would remember that.
Lightyear. What?
It's one of the alternate versions of Lightyear Zero. It might be on the same page, actually.
Schneider, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm eating pizza with my beer, so I don't.
Fuck me up, dude. That shit was awesome.
I don't remember.
I should definitely binge that show, man. Oh.
Yeah, I'm down for watching that too. If you want to do one of those stream shows.
Yeah, my sisters are in summer right now, and one of them is like binging all of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Oh, we can do 3 squares.
3 squares. Now you can all watch me eat pizza, and I don't have to like hide my face off to the side.
Zero shame, man. But yeah, she's like watching Airbender, and she's like finishing a season a day or every day or two, which is insane. But I'm like, you know what? I do that too. I was your age.
Living her best life.
Oh yeah, man.
Before this entire Tulsa thing, before we came out here, I was like finishing a season of The West Wing a day. That's 24 episodes of 45-minute long TV.
A season of what?
A season of West Wing a day.
Jesus, dude, how's that?
I have no fucking clue. I just don't sleep.
Let me. Okay, I was gonna ask, like, how is that pre Kevin Spacey cancellation House of Cards in comparison?
Okay, honestly, without Kevin Spacey, it sucks. With Kevin, and I'm talking about The West Wing, not House of Cards.
Yeah,
but
yeah, like, compared to
with Kevin Spacey, amazing. House of Cards without Kevin Spacey sucks.
Yeah. Like, I'm not mad at the writers of House of Cards or Game of. I mean,
I'm mad at Kevin Spacey.
Not
a 17-year-old
House
kid.
of Cards, like, I understand they were in a horrible situation. I had to pull something off, and I mean, I couldn't have done any better. Like, damn, like, it sucks, but whatever.
I could have done better.
What?
I'm not gonna lie. I could have done better. Did you see the last season of House of Cards?
I had to. It's our principle. I had to.
It was so much shit.
It was abysmal.
Utter bullshit.
What do you think was worse, the last season of House of Cards or last season of Game of Thrones?
Last season of House of Cards. Not even close.
Yeah.
Like beyond not even close.
Like at least the last season of like the last episode of fucking Game of Thrones kind of made sense because the dragon saw his mother dead and then looked at the spiky like throne and said, "You bastard, you did this!" Melted the throne and then flew away. At least the dragon knew who to blame. He blamed the throne.
That symbolically makes sense.
Yeah, the dragon had the most insight to the end of that season.
I think Game of Thrones gets a bad rep for the last season. You know,
I can
anyone else as king would have been better than what's his name.
Anyone else as king? No, it was actually very like
Brandon ending up as king. I mean, come on.
So the point was that the guy without, ambition actually finally ends up being on top. Like, I actually thought it was very poetic. I think
in that case, if you wanted someone without ambition, it should have been Tyrion.
Tyrion had ambition. Are you blind?
His only ambition was impressing his father, and then killing his father and killing his family.
He certainly had other motivations.
I think the two characters with the most interesting character. Well, I put three. Definitely Tyrion, Jaime, and the Hound.
Oh, the Hound would have been a good king.
That would have no. I'm talking about in terms of good character development. Oh, and Arya Stark, man.
The Hound would have been a better choice.
I mean, Arya Stark's character development is literally going to be something for like screenwriting schools. I guarantee. Yeah. If it's not already, somebody's going to add that to curriculum.
Oh, they were teaching Game of Thrones after the first season.
Yeah,
at UCLA. So
nice.
Or not UCLA, USC. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult UCLA.
Catch that joke.
Yeah, I caught myself there because my brother-in-law kind of works there, and I'll catch more shit than I do when I try to like spend a holiday and get in a fight with his mom. But so okay, yeah, I should, yeah, okay. Let's move on.
You're good, man. You're good. I mean, so John Marco, you saw all of House of Cards, right? Did you like all but the last season? Because I actually didn't like seasons 3 and I think it was 5.
I don't remember what story falls in which season at this point. I kind of like just digested the whole thing as it came out. But I thoroughly enjoyed it overall before the last season.
Fair enough.
Season by far the best season of House of Cards. The way they kicked it off and set everything up and built characters was some of the most amazing writing I've ever seen in my life.
And Kevin Spacey's monologues were great too.
What was that?
Kevin Spacey's monologues.
Yeah. Although I will give Robin Wright some respect, she did kick ass on the monologue part, and she would take it over.
But she's a fantastic actress.
Yeah, she is.
She's from Princess Bride. I don't know if you knew that. So yeah, she's Princess Buttercup from Princess Bride.
Nice. She's also from Forrest Gump, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yeah, man. I think career can last a long time. I always find it awkward when you're like an actor and actress's career just like gets better with time. Didn't Morgan Freeman start acting when he was like 50 or something? Or something ridiculous like that?
I don't know. Wouldn't surprise me.
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman is literally God.
Yeah.
He's played it in like 2 or 3 movies too.
Factually, yeah. Of course he is.
Oh, fun fact. Up until James Cathedral, every actor ever to play Jesus on screen met some kind of tragic death.
What?
Really?
Yeah. Up until Jim Caviezel in Passion of the Christ.
Who literally played the most Jesus.
Like George Burns and Morgan Freeman have played God multiple times and nothing bad ever happened to them. And they both played God the same way. As someone who is just a creator and an observer, not a person who actually meddles. So, and they played him pretty sarcastically. So it's kind of like they must have gotten something right not to have died tragically afterwards. Although George Burns did have Gracie Allen dug up, so he could be buried underneath her because she was always the top star of the show they were on in like the 50s or 40s or 60s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that she's the reason he was famous.
That's similar to the Madden curse. You know,
the people that appear on the front of Madden games.
Yeah. As soon as you put yourself on that front of the cover, you end up with like a career-ending injury or something along those lines.
I wonder how many athletes have turned down the Madden cover because of that.
Honestly, probably a non-zero number. I would wager that the number is greater than 0.
Well, I mean, they tried to put Ray Lewis on the cover. But they put Ray Lewis on the cover. He broke his arm and then got charged with murder. So,
yeah, it was one of the longest-running like curses or patterns.
Yeah, Michael Vick, they put him on the cover, and he broke his leg, and then got arrested for murdering dogs. So I mean, you're gonna end up with a injury that like hampers your career, and then you're gonna end up with a criminal charge if you're on the cover of Madden. And then Tom Brady was on the cover of Madden, and he got like Deflategate and blew out his ACL one year. So,
damn. Yeah, I've been missing. But
Brady's why like charge. He just got suspended for 4 games and had the FBI investigate. So,
wait, we should all. How haven't we played multiplayer games before? Like, I have a computer. I can play games. Like, what do you play, Pierce? I'm sure we can have something we can both play. Or everyone.
Terraria.
What?
I mean, so I've mostly been playing like StarCraft and whatnot, but a game.
Oh, nice. You want to kick my ass?
I will absolutely kick your ass at StarCraft.
Yeah. Hey, that's either what's gonna happen. I'm either gonna kick ass or get my ass handed to me. So.
No, I would wager probably close to like 18,000 hours probably in that game in the 20 years that I've been playing it.
Okay, so StarCraft 1.
Yeah, Brood War.
You're familiar with StarCrafts, right? The cartoon thing?
No, what are you talking about?
Pierce. Okay, it's a complete redesign from the top up of the graphics of the original StarCraft that make it fucking amazing.
Oh, that, yeah. I mean, I thought it was just called StarCraft Cartoons or something.
Yeah, but have you seen the YouTube series that came from that is based out of?
No, never heard of it.
Oh, look up StarCrafts with an S at the end and have fun for the rest of the night. Especially with the hours you have on it, you will understand so many of the game jokes that they do in there.
So, hold on. StarCraft?
Yeah, like a plural StarCraft.
Oh, okay. StarCraft.
Yeah.
We got. Oh, yeah, that is a cartoon. Oh, isn't that cute?
Yeah. Jason, do you have a computer?
Multiple seasons, in
fact.
fact.
I have a computer. I am on my MacBook right now.
Okay, well, I didn't know. You could be on your phone or your Apple Watch for all we know.
True.
But yeah, we should all play some games sometimes.
Yeah, dude. Terraria just recently came out with their like, hey, we actually finished the game update. No, I'm serious. They more than doubled the number of items that are in the game.
That is a great way of saying we're out of beta. Because like I think games in like perpetual beta are like the silliest thing.
I mean, it wasn't like beta, but yes, they have now released
all games in beta until the new version comes out.
What's that, Jason?
Technically, aren't all games just beta until the new version comes out? Like Sims 1 was just a beta for Sims 2, and Sims 2 was just a beta for Sims 3, and so on. I think Madden 1 was just a beta for Madden 2, and now we're on Madden 975. And
yes and no, because once you have a stable release, that's basically like your past alpha and gold stuff. But every new like successor to a video game series, franchise or series is just you take a lot of the internal mechanisms that has worked for a while, but you just modify a lot of things. Like sure, in layman's term, you could consider like Half-Life 2, for example, a heavily modded Half-Life 1, but it's different in a lot of ways still. Like there's a line when you modify or change enough mechanisms from its core value, like all balance fixing aside, that is a completely different thing.
Ship of Theseus, right? Is that this philosophical dilemma we're at?
Oh, what's that one game where you're like on the pirate ship and your goal is to like beat all the other pirate ships to find treasure?
I mean, similarly speaking, I was gonna ask Pierce this, so maybe you know this. I've been playing a lot of World of Warships lately. Do you know that game?
No, but I'm gonna guess it's like World of Tanks, but with warships.
Exactly. I think you might like it, but we should play it together if you're down. It's free to play, and it's very. I mean, I find it very fun. It's just a lot of World War II era ships, cruisers, destroyers, like 12 on 12 going at each other. Yeah. And you have to like lead your shots and everything, etc.
Yeah, sure.
So can you what can you play with us, Jason? Like,
there's like this one game that I thought was pretty cool. It was like a cartoony game where like everyone's on like a pirate ship and you're working together to beat other pirate ships to treasure and stuff, and you can put yourself in a cannon and like launch yourself in other ships to fight them.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves. I've played it.
Oh yeah, there's this other one where you purposely try to make an obstacle course that's completely and utterly unbeatable for like your friends and yourself to like compete through.
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, it's a monster of a file.
Oh, this looks cool. I was talking about Animal Crossing with my friends yesterday.
We're not playing Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I'm just making an observation. Like I knew that I don't have Animal Crossing, but I knew if I get it, I would be one of those people that would rightfully take the game way too seriously and competitively.
Everything is a competition unless you like want to lose.
I should probably get a Tamagotchi too. Now that I think about it, I mean, I have to keep my.
I made you think about Tamagotchis. Yay! I win at life.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that though. We literally went from having a pet in our pocket that like literally took a shit on a screen to like fucking an iPhone that has like the entire history of the universe on it.
Yeah, good upgrade.
And it could actually probably land your ass on the moon if the moon landing was, of course, real.
Have you guys seen the interior of the SpaceX rocket that took the astronauts up?
No.
I have not, no.
It is all digital, all touchscreen. It's like, in a lot of ways, a Tesla hood in the car.
I read that. I hadn't actually seen it, but I read that it was all touchscreen. And that struck me as like a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know any better.
I don't know any better, but at the same time, it's just like, listen, there's a certain reliability in analog, right?
Right, exactly.
It has, I would say, less possible bugs. Like your thermometer doesn't have it doesn't blue screen on you.
Yeah, you was just not the same then.
That was a feat for sure. Congratulations, Tesla, etc. Those two astronauts flying into space while the world is burning behind them.
Yeah.
It took our mind off of all the shit that's happening for like a good 30 minutes, so props to them.
Yeah.
You said that we would actually talk about video games in this podcast, and it's only taken to what is this, episode 7, 8, 9?
Like that.
Oh, we did? I don't remember having that conversation, but I'm glad.
Yeah.
I plugged myself as let's play 2K together all the time, but no.
I don't do sports.
I want to be a Jewish card that dishes the dimes to people who can actually do things.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't do sports games, but I think I mentioned this to you guys before. Like, politics really made me understand why people love sports, because we were playing like presidential administration fantasy, like football the other night with my friends, and I was just like, who do you think is going to be VP or AG?
And who do you think?
Pretty much every week on this show, except for this week.
Who do you think Biden will pick, John Marco?
I don't know. And this is actually another interesting perspective that came out of that Left, Right, and Center podcast, where it was at the time where Klobuchar was still in the race a couple of weeks ago for VP viability, or not viability, but possibility. And how they were talking about, there's been a lot of discussion of it seeing just any female should be a female person of color. And I understand the social pressure behind that, but someone brought up the point where but this is one of those cases where I think the symbolism of something will fall short of someone that will actually have the right policies in mind to make the change that we need.
Well, generally speaking, the vice president is not actually that powerful of a position.
It varies though, especially since Cheney.
It certainly does vary. Yes.
And plus, you have to remember the fact that Joe Biden is barely conscious human being.
There's also the very legitimate possibility of the successor being the vice president, of the vice president becoming president. Yes.
Yeah.
That is very.
I mean, we all know that Biden is not going to run for more than this term. Like he's already said so as much himself.
He's hinted that. He hasn't said that. But
yeah, and nobody thinks it would be a good idea to run again anyway. Like nobody does. It's just,
You have to look at the fact if Biden wins this term, he'll be like 86 if he does 2 terms, right?
I mean, I actually don't remember if there ever was a time where a president that only served 1 term didn't run, and the vice president, which probably would always run in that case, ended up losing. I don't specifically remember that myself. Maybe Al Gore. No, Al Gore was after a 2-term presidency. But
yeah. Oh yeah. So was George W. I mean, not George W. George H.
Yeah. No, it wasn't.
Reagan was a 2-termer.
Oh yeah.
So.
What is time, anyways?
True. You know who's more competently sound than Joe Biden is right now, and who's probably about the same age that has been president before that should probably be president again? Jimmy Carter.
I was about to say, I'm like, well, the only person that fits that description.
Well, Carter's own words are, "I'm too old to be president."
Yeah, he's actually the one that
said younger than Joe Biden.
No, but he wasn't he the one that said like less than a year ago, like I don't think anyone above this age should be president.
Yeah, he is.
That's what he said.
How old is Jimmy Carter is what I want to know.
He's in his late 80s for sure, I would say.
I'm Googling it right now. So I will. Oh, Jimmy Carter's 95 years old. Never mind.
Yeah.
But I still think he's more capable and more sound and more conscious president than Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And more capable of giving us a productive 1 term.
Well, Jimmy Carter is remembered fairly fondly today for all his humanitarian work, but he was actually not remembered fondly as an actual president.
Yeah, I really thought he was a little slow and stupid, but he did some certain things that like led to a Reagan presidency that was very fruitful. He set the country up for the decent success that Reagan had in the early years before Nancy Reagan took over after the stroke. So, I mean, that's like one of the things. Like, I think if Reagan would have stayed conscious his entire presidency, he would have been a pretty damn good president. And he was like set up. He was set up fairly well by Jimmy Carter, and some of the things he did, like picking up the price on like gasoline and milk and stuff like that before the recession hit, when he was presidency, or before it hit too strong, which gave Reagan the possibility to get out of it like quicker. And then Nancy kind of took over the last 4 years after the stroke and kind of ran the country into the ground.
I can give Reagan a passing grade as president for the sheer fact that we all didn't die in a nuclear holocaust.
True.
And I know that might seem like a low bar to a lot of people.
Well, I mean, yeah, by that thing, we have to give Jimmy Carter that. Same thing. Nixon, I think, was also, during the Cold War. Pretty much every president after FDR, we didn't die in a nuclear holocaust, so therefore they had a solid presidency.
So, I mean, Reagan encountered certain struggles on that front that other presidents didn't. And it's worth noting that effectively the Cold War was won under Reagan. All right. So it collapsed. The Soviet Union collapsed, right? 1990 Christmas. But what preceded that, right? That was the Reagan presidency.
Yeah. But we have to look at the fact that both the US and the Soviet Union were spending like so much and stuff just to outdo each other.
Yep.
That, by the time Carter got into the office, we were in the same situation financially that Russia was, trying to run the Soviet bloc, and try to like peacekeep for the entire world and like spread democracy and everything. Jimmy Carter is the person who started scaling that back. And then he set up the price freezes to slow down the recession here at home. And then Reagan came into office and just kind of took the ball and ran with it from there. And, it's kind of like, Hoover before FDR gets like a bad rap, But Coolidge before him was 8 years of reckless spending and driving to the near brink of destruction. And Hoover just came into a sinking ship and said, well, I'd rather blow the motherfucker up than, die slowly. So
Yeah, to a large extent, Hoover was a fall guy.
yeah,
I will have to read more on the topic and inform myself before I can continue on Carter's actions for the Cold War. I will have to read more and inform myself.
He just did a lot of things that helped us like economically at home to stave off what the Soviet Union started to go through. And and Reagan just kind of, kept it up, and it was just a pretty fucking cool thing, Like very rarely, I know, like he got a bad rap for not being intelligent and stuff, but he surrounded himself with the right advisors who helped steer the ship, because he was a very nonpartisan like president and everything, because he had a lot of Republicans in his cabinet as well as Democrats, and they worked well together. He kind of had the thought process of the best person for the job, because he knew as president, he wasn't necessarily the best person for the job, but he, I think he's even said that now as, after his presidency, I wasn't the best pick, but I did the best I could.
Yeah.
So.
And I wouldn't suggest that is good enough for, the president of the United States, but it's certainly something respectable.
Yeah. Very rarely does a president admit his own faults.
Yeah, it's certainly respectable, and it's a long cry from where we are right now.
Yeah, we don't. That's one thing we've been missing from a president since like Bill Clinton. We don't have anyone that since Bill Clinton got in office, or maybe Reagan was the last one to do it, to actually stand up and say, hey, I'm a man, I take my beatings as they come. And, we don't have people that, want to admit their faults anymore.
Yeah.
We hide.
Admitting your faults is the first step to learning from them.
Yeah.
And we can all use more of that.
Absolutely.
Like that anymore.
So with that, I'll say let's play Terraria or Sea of Thieves or any of those other games later. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic day.
If there's anyone that's actually suffered through this hour and 12 minutes, you're amazing human beings, and we love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You deserve a break. Have a drink.
Yeah. I finished off a 6-pack, so I expect you guys to, do the same.
Always an absolute pleasure seeing you two. We miss you, Rob. We know you're watching this.
Yeah.
You better be watching this, Rob. Like, stop listening to whatever those EMT teachers are teaching you about how to save lives. Make sure you have your earbuds in and you're listening to us versus listening to them. We're more important.
That's a senior quote right there.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy the drink.